Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you were willing to bet your entire life on them? I did. I wagered everything I was and everything I hoped to be on a dream, and in the end, I nearly paid for it with my own life. The story I'm about to tell you isn't meant to scare you, but to serve as a warning, a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous red flags are painted in the vibrant, intoxicating colors of love. And I promise you, this story does not end the way you think it will. So stay with me until the very end to witness a truth that even I couldn't have predicted. The sky there was immense, a vast, open canvas, but my dreams always felt cramped, confined by an invisible ceiling. Every day was a carbon copy of the one before, the 6 o'clock chime of the church bell, the scent of diner coffee hanging in the air, the same faces so familiar. You could predict their sentences before their lips even parted. He would describe the relentless, electric pulse of New York, telling me about late-night jazz shows in Greenwich Village, about the feeling of standing in the middle of Times Square, feeling both infinitesimally small and limitlessly powerful. He didn't just hear the words, he understood the yearning behind them, and behind him, the glittering, sleepless skyline of the city. He had warm, hazel eyes, and a small dimple appeared on his left cheek whenever he smiled. He told me I had the most beautiful laugh he had ever heard, that my voice was the only thing that could turn his stressful days around. All I felt was a profound sense of release. He was taller than I'd imagined, with broad shoulders that radiated a sense of solid strength. Ethan took a full week off work just to show me his city. We held hands walking under the canopy of golden autumn leaves in Central Park. We shared a comically large pizza in Brooklyn, gazing at the Manhattan skyline from across the river. He took me to tiny, hidden coffee shops that only locals knew about, and to obscure art galleries tucked away in quiet alleys. I don't think that's a good idea. At night, we would curl up on the worn but comfortable sofa in his apartment, watching old black and white films while he absent-mindedly played with my hair until I fell asleep. He wore a black leather jacket, his hair was perfectly messy, and his smile was even more dazzling in person. Every corner of it was a reflection of him, the books, the guitar, the framed photographs of cityscapes on the walls. This would be our home, he'd said. He told me I had brought a light into his life that had previously been filled with nothing but work and a quiet loneliness. When he rushed forward and lifted me off my feet in a crushing, breathless hug, I thought, this is it. This is the happiest moment of my life. The scent of his cologne, a warm, rich mix of sandalwood and vanilla, was instantly seared into my memory as the very scent of safety. I was flying toward my dream. I was flying toward Ethan. What I didn't know was that I was also flying directly into the eye of a hurricane. He understood my feeling of being trapped, my desperate need for flight. A soul like yours, Maya, he once said, his voice a warm current over the fiber optic lines, doesn't belong in a small town. It belongs somewhere it can truly shine. I, in turn, told him about the suffocating peacefulness of Ohio, the endless cornfields that felt like a golden cage. One afternoon, while he was focused on some work, I mentioned that I was thinking of going for a walk by myself, just to explore our new neighborhood. The warm smile on his face vanished. He reached for my hand, his expression turning strangely serious, and my secret dream of just once seeing the ocean. It felt flawless, so perfect it was almost suspect, but I was too intoxicated by the sweetness to notice. He was the prince, and New York was his castle. I, the small-town Cinderella, just needed the courage to step into the pumpkin carriage. I yearned for something more. I craved a beautiful, deliberate chaos, a grand adventure, a place where the person I was on the inside could finally exist on the outside. My escape, like for so many others of my generation, was found behind the cool, glowing light of a screen. But before we turn the first dark page of this chapter together, let's take a moment to connect. I quit my job, scraped together every dollar of my savings, and booked a one-way ticket to JFK International Airport. My parents begged me not to go. They said I was too young, that I was rushing into things, that the real world wasn't what people portray themselves to be online. My older sister, Chloe, just watched me with a quiet, complicated look in her eyes that I couldn't decipher at the time. I dismissed them all. I told them they didn't understand, that this was destiny. I had found my person, and I wouldn't let anything stand in my way. In that realm, I wasn't Maya, the girl who worked part-time at the dusty old bookstore. I was a warrior, a sorceress, an explorer of uncharted territories. And it was there, in a forum buzzing with debate over a new game expansion, that I met him. Ethan. Could you let me know in the comments where in the world you're watching from, and what time it is for you right now? I truly love hearing how far and wide our community stretches. okay? Take a deep breath. Let's begin. When I was 19, my world was circumscribed by the familiar, predictable streets of a small town in Ohio. He was unlike anyone I had ever known. The boys back home talked about pickup trucks and Friday night football games. Ethan talked about modern art, about philosophical books I'd never heard of, about his ambition to build his own tech startup. His voice, coming through my headset, was a low, confident melody, a broadcast from another universe, a universe I desperately wanted to be a part of. The world of online gaming wasn't just about digital battles and fantasy quests, it was a portal. He was 23, living in New York City, a place whose very name was a symphony of possibilities that made my heart ache with longing. We started talking every single day. Our conversations, which began with in-game strategies, quickly spiraled into something deeper, more intimate. He listened. That was the thing that truly captivated me. Our video calls stretched late into the night. I could see his apartment through the screen, the tall stacks of books, a guitar leaning against the wall. Our love story blossomed with a fierce, rapid intensity, like a vine growing overnight in a digital greenhouse. And so I did. After 6 months of a love that existed only in pixels and sound waves, I made the decision that would alter the course of my life. As the plane lifted off the runway, leaving the familiar patchwork of Ohio farmland behind, I felt no fear. The first time I saw Ethan in the flesh, the air in their rival's hall of JFK seemed to stand still. Those first few weeks in New York felt like a movie montage, and I was the star. His apartment wasn't grand, but it was my sanctuary. But then, the first crack appeared in a perfect facade. It was so small, so subtle, I almost missed it. "Maya," he said, his voice a low cautionary note. One day, she called me, her voice bright with faint excitement. "Maya, you won't believe what I found cleaning out the attic. That old book we were obsessed with as kids, The Canary Song." I froze. It was a fantasy novel we had read to tatters about a society of miners who took canaries into the deep tunnels. The birds were incredibly sensitive to toxic gases. If they stopped singing, it was the miners' only warning to get out immediately. But at night, lying awake next to the man I now feared, those seeds began to germinate. The canary, the escape artist, the lock. My sister was speaking to me in a language only we could understand. She couldn't break the cage for me, but she was showing me where to find the key. "Oh," was all I could manage. "I'm rereading it," Chloe continued, her tone perfectly natural. "It's funny, isn't it? How sometimes the clearest signs of danger come from the most fragile creatures. The ones who ignore the silence of the birds always pay the price." A shiver went down my spine, but I tried to dismiss it. It had to be a coincidence, but the coincidences kept coming. I was washing dishes and it slipped from my soapy hands, shattering on the tile floor with a deafening crash. Another time, she told me about a documentary she'd watched on Harry Houdini, the master of escapes. The most amazing thing about him, Chloe mused, wasn't his strength, but his intellect. He always had a plan. He always knew the lock's weakest point. Chloe's words were like seeds dropped into the parched, cracked soil of my subconscious. During the day, I could ignore them. The storm broke on a Tuesday night. It wasn't triggered by anything significant. It was triggered by a broken plate. I was taken aback. Why not? I'll just be right around the corner. She had been a vibrant, beautiful teenager, full of life. But one night, walking home from the library, she was attacked. The assailant took more than just her belongings. I can't let the same thing happen to you, Maya. I can't live with the thought of you being in danger, alone in this city. I just want to protect you. Do you understand? He stole her sense of safety, her trust in the world. At first, it was framed as romantic devotion. I want you to relax, to enjoy life. But gradually, my palace began to feel more like a prison. My phone became a source of contention. One afternoon at a coffee shop, the male barista complimented my dress for the rest of the evening. Ethan was shrouded in a tense, brooding silence. When I finally asked what was wrong, he exploded. If I was texting my friends back in Ohio, he would casually glance over my shoulder. The attention, do you like having other men look at you? She was my last tether to the outside world, to the person I used to be. I tried to hide everything, of course. She could see the strain behind my smile from 1,000 miles away. She noticed the way my eyes would dart towards the door at the slightest sound, the way I would rush to end our calls when I thought Ethan was coming home. She never confronted me directly. She didn't ask, "Is he controlling you?" or "Are you okay?" She was wise enough to know that such questions would only make me retreat further into my defensive shell. I'd set up my laptop in the best lit corner of the room, apply makeup with a careful hand, and stretch a bright, brittle smile across my face. I would regale her with stories of the good things, the dates, the ways Ethan took care of me, asking who I was talking to with a forced lightness in his tone. He installed a Find My Phone app on my device. She started telling me stories, coded messages disguised as casual conversation, explaining it was just in case you ever get lost. But I knew. What could I say? To argue with him was to paint myself as callous, as someone who didn't understand the profound trauma of the man I loved. I began to rationalize his behavior, to tell myself he was only this way because he loved me so fiercely. And so, I began to shrink. I replied to my friends' texts less frequently. I turned down invitations from the few acquaintances I had in New York. My world gradually contracted until it was the exact size of our apartment, with Ethan at its very center. I was caught in an impossible emotional vortex, a terrifying fear of him, and a deep, aching pity for him. My new, agonizing question became, could my love heal him? Or would I simply be pulled down into the abyss with his demons? It was so he could know my exact location at all times. You've worked hard enough. He insisted on driving me to and from any errands, even if his own office was in the opposite direction, claiming he didn't want me navigating the subway alone. When I brought up the idea of getting a part-time job to contribute, he gently dismissed it. The tragedy had shattered his family and left a permanent, ragged scar on Ethan's soul. He was just being polite. He scoffed, a humorless, ugly sound. Or were you inviting it? Maybe you regret coming here with me. Maybe you miss being single. He let out a heavy sigh and pulled me down to sit beside him, looking directly into my eyes. He would deploy his ultimate weapon, his sister's tragedy. You don't understand my pain, he would say, his voice laced with torment. Every time you want to go out alone, I see Lily's face. You're being selfish by making me relive that. I could have gone to pick her up. I should have been there to protect her, but I wasn't. And that's the single greatest regret of my life. There's something I need to tell you. He began. Something I haven't told anyone before. And then he told me the story. He told me about his younger sister, Lily. I was home that night, he said, his voice cracking with a guilt that was years old but still raw. He squeezed my hand, his hazel eyes now glistening with unshed tears. How could I not understand? In that moment, my heart flooded with a wave of profound compassion. I was proving my love and my capacity for empathy. What I was actually doing was handing him the very first key to the gilded cage he was building for me. His fear wasn't about control, it was about trauma. His anxiety wasn't about possessiveness, it was about a deep, protective love. I wrapped my arms around him, buried my face in his chest, and whispered, I understand. I won't go anywhere alone. We'll always be together. At that moment, I believed I was doing the right thing. I was soothing a broken soul. Ethan's promise to protect me swiftly evolved into an invisible, yet incredibly strong, net that tightened around every aspect of my existence. My love, you don't need to work, he'd say, stroking my hair. I can take care of us. The words sounded like a sweet caress, as if I were a cherished princess. His jealousy began to sprout from the most innocuous seeds. Did you enjoy that? Maya, Ethan, what are you talking about? Polite. Every time I tried to push back, to reclaim a sliver of my own space, his words silenced me every time. In my deepening isolation, the video calls with my sister, Chloe, became my only lifeline. But Chloe knew me too well. Instead, she began to employ a different, far more subtle strategy. The doorbell. It wasn't just a single ring, it was a continuous, relentless chimming, as if someone was holding the button down without pause. Ding dong. Ding dong. Ethan froze, his rage momentarily derailed by the sheer annoyance of the interruption. Who the hell is that? He muttered, glancing towards the door. The ringing continued, frantic and unwavering. Ethan stormed out from the living room, his face a thundercloud. What was that? I'm sorry, I whispered. It was an accident. He stared at the broken shards, then his cold gaze lifted to me. An accident? Or did you do it on purpose for attention? Why would you say that? It's carelessness. It's disrespect. Do you have any idea how hard I work to afford these things? I stammered, stunned. I'll show you what it feels like when you can't breathe. But this time, something in me snapped. The dam of my repressed frustration finally burst. This isn't about the plate. At the back of my head connected with the sharp stone edge of the kitchen counter. A blinding, white-hot pain exploded through my skull. I crumpled to the floor, Dazed, when I brought my hand to my head, it came away wet and warm with blood. I shouted back, my voice trembling. It's about your control. All my fantasies of healing Ethan had evaporated, calcified into a single, unshakable truth. The love was gone, replaced by a primal instinct for survival. You know, I've been on a real cleaning kick lately. I couldn't confront him head on. He was too strong, too volatile. I needed a plan. I needed an escape. I needed Chloe's code. Then Chloe said, her voice light but loaded with meaning, "That sounds like a great plan. Little sis, it's always good to clear out old things you don't need anymore. Make sure you open a window to air the place out. I hear the weather in New York is supposed to be beautiful on Sunday, especially around noon." Ethan was using my laptop to check a work email. I was sure I had covered my tracks, but I'd made one fatal error. I had forgotten to empty the trash folder on my email account. "I can't breathe anymore, Ethan." I turned. Ethan was standing there, his face ashen. He held the laptop, the screen angled toward me. Displayed on it was the airline's flight confirmation email. He let out a short, sharp, ugly laugh. "Explain that you were planning to sneak away from me after everything I've done for you? That you could just throw me away like I was nothing?" He walked to the front door and through the deadbolt. The thud of the lock sliding into place sounded like a death sentence. Instead, a different sound pierced the tense air, a shrill, insistent noise. Winter coats, items for a long journey, and escape. Sunday, noon. Open a window. I backed away until my spine hit the cold wall. There was nowhere left to go. He asked, his voice dangerously low, stripped of all emotion. All my careful planning, all my desperate hopes had crumbled to dust in a single, careless moment. I had underestimated the monster I lived with. He wasn't just controlling. He was pathologically clever. He was always one step ahead. I had to act normal, even affectionate, to lull his suspicions. The rage he'd been simmering erupted like a volcano. I cooked his favorite meals, watched movies with him, feigned interest in his work stories. Every smile was a mask, every touch a calculated performance. I had secretly used Cash ID been stashing away to book a flight for Sunday at noon. The booking was made in an incognito browser window, the history meticulously erased. I packed a small go bag with the barest essentials, my passport, the cash, a change of clothes, and hid it deep under the bed. She understood. "It's just a plate. Did your sister help you? Were you two laughing at me behind my back? It's not just a plate," he roared, his voice echoing in the small kitchen. The argument escalated with terrifying speed. I was thinking this weekend, I'm going to finally tackle my closet. I have way too much stuff. I'm especially going to sort through all my old winter coats. It's probably going to take me all day Sunday to get them organized. Those last words were the match to the gasoline. "Can't breathe?" he repeated, advancing on me. "Maya, I didn't mean to." Seeing him like that, so utterly destroyed by his own actions, a twisted part of me felt a pang of my old pity. The monster in him seemed to be at war with himself. I stayed. I helped him bandage his bleeding hand. I cleaned up the broken plate, and I accepted his tearful promise that this would never, ever happen again. But that night, as I lay in bed, listening to his ragged breathing, I knew with chilling certainty my love could not save him. Now, I had to save myself. He looked at my blood on my fingers, then at my terrified face. The fury drained from his expression, replaced by a bottomless horror. Not quiet, regretful tears, or racking, self-hating wails. He scrambled to his feet and began punching the wall over and over, ignoring the sound of his own knuckles cracking. He didn't hit me with his fist. He just shoved me down hard. I lost my balance, stumbling backward. The sight of it seemed to shock Ethan out of his rage. "Oh my God," he gasped. He knelt beside me, reaching for me, but I flinched away. And then, something I had never seen before happened. He began to sob. "I'm becoming him," he screamed, tears streaming down his face. "I'm becoming the monster that hurt Lily. I swore I would never be that person." He collapsed onto the floor, a shuddering, broken mess. After that night of terror, a cold, clear resolve settled over me. Our next video call took place 2 days later. Ethan was in the shower. I had a small window. "Hey, sis," I began, my voice a carefully constructed imitation of cheerfulness. "Oh yeah?" Chloe replied from her end, and I knew she was listening not just to my words, but to the spaces between them. "Yeah," I continued, my heart hammering against my ribs. There was a beat of silence. The message was sent and received. The next few days were an exercise in supreme tension. I almost made it. It was Saturday night. Less than 12 hours stood between me and freedom. I was in the kitchen, pretending to make tea, when I heard the sound of his chair scraping violently against the floor. What is this? My heart stopped. The world tilted. I can explain. Explain? He advanced on me, slowly, deliberately, like a predator cornering its prey. Did you really think you could just leave me? He whispered, his voice now a venomous hiss. He snatched my phone from the counter and hurled it against the wall. The screen spider-webbed into 1,000 pieces. We need to talk, Maya, he said, a cruel smile twisting his lips. A long talk. The air in the apartment became thick, unbreathable. Ethan backed me into the corner of the kitchen, his large frame blocking any possible escape route. You were lying to me, he bellowed, spittle flying from his lips. How long have you been planning this? He raised his hand. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for the impact, but it never came. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. A distraction. It was a distraction. It was only a second, but it was all I needed. In a surge of adrenaline-fueled desperation I didn't know I possessed, I moved. I didn't run for the front door. A second later, a tremendous boom reverberated through the wood as his full body weight crashed against it, but it bought me precious seconds. I ran in the opposite direction, bolting for the bedroom. Open the window, Chloe had said. Not a suicidal drop, but high enough to give me pause. Just then, the bedroom door burst open. Ethan stood in the doorway, his eyes wild with fury. It was the one escape route Ethan hadn't considered. He was too focused on guarding the main exit. I could hear Ethan screaming my name, but the sound already seemed to belong to another world. I closed my eyes and let go. I didn't land on cold concrete. I landed on a thick mattress that had been spread across the van's roof. My name is Sarah. I'm with the Women's Support Network. Your sister, Chloe, contacted us. The twist wasn't some dark secret or another betrayal. The twist, so beautiful and heart-wrenchingly warm, was the fierce, intelligent love of my sister. She hadn't just shown me the key to the lock, she had paved the road to freedom. My escape wasn't born of luck. It was born of preparation, courage, and an unbreakable bond of sisterly love. Directly below my window, parked on the street, was a nondescript gray van. Its side door slid wide open. After our winter coat call, she had sprung into action. She had spent a frantic days researching and contacting domestic abuse support organizations. In New York City, it flew out of the coal mine. Chloe, she gave them my address, her suspicions, and our encrypted escape plan. The scars on the soul don't fade as easily as a bruise. There will be nights when I wake up in a cold sweat, times when a closing door will make me jump. But I am not alone anymore. I have my family back. I have a network of support, and most importantly, I have myself back. If tales of survival, courage, and the resilience of the human spirit are what you connect with, consider joining our community by hitting that subscribe button. You never know when the next story might be the one that stays with you forever. It never stopped singing, little sis, she said softly. You just needed someone else to help you hear it. The person ringing the doorbell relentlessly was Sarah's colleague, sent to create the perfect distraction. If you, or anyone you know, is seeing red flags no matter how beautifully they are painted, please do not ignore them. Trust your instincts. Be a Chloe for Maya out there, because sometimes the right phone call, a coded message, or just the simple act of truly listening can save a life. The bruise on my forehead was a deep, ugly purple, a physical reminder of what I had endured. But for the first time in a long time, as I looked at my reflection in the terminal window, I saw a flicker of light in my own eyes. It was the light of freedom. They had prepared everything, from the van to the mattress. They had been there, waiting for my signal. A woman was standing beside it, looking up at me, waving her arms urgently. Maya. I heard him roar behind me as he realized my intent. Sarah had taken me there after helping me file a police report and ensuring I was completely safe. And waiting for me, right by the gate, was Chloe. She had taken the first possible flight the moment she got the call that I was out. I slammed the bedroom door shut and twisted the lock. The woman sitting beside me had a kind face and a gentle voice. She just ran to me and wrapped me in her arms. I buried my face in her shoulder, breathing in the familiar scent of home, and I cried. I cried for the naive girl who had bet her life on a dream. I cried for the months I had lived in fear, and I cried for the liberation I thought would never come. I scrambled to the window, my trembling hands fumbling with the old, stiff latch. The door shuddered again under another impact. The woman rushed to my side, half lifting me and pushing me into the van. "Go," she yelled at the driver. The van door slammed shut just as Ethan appeared in the window above, his face a mask of impotent rage. It was starting to splinter. Finally, the latch gave way. I shoved the window open. The cold New York air hit my face like a baptism of freedom. I looked down. We were on the second floor. Then I saw it. This wasn't a coincidence. This was the plan. Without another thought, I climbed onto the sill. I rolled off onto the pavement, stunned but miraculously unhurt. As the van sped away, melting into the New York traffic, I could finally breathe. "Hi, Maya," she said, and that's when the truth finally hit me, and I broke down. It turned out, Chloe had done more than just send coded messages. My sister, from 1,000 miles away, had orchestrated a flawless rescue mission. The final scene of my nightmare didn't take place in a dark room, but under the soft, fluorescent lights of an airport terminal. We said nothing, as we sat in the waiting area, ready for the flight that would take us both home. I was still shaking. I turned to my sister, who had been silently holding my hand the entire time. "The canary," I whispered, my voice raw. Chloe smiled, a smile so full of warmth and relief it could have lit up the entire airport. She squeezed my hand. "My journey of healing is a long one. My story doesn't end in tragedy. It ends with a new dawn, one illuminated by the unwavering power of sisterhood. True love will never ask you to sacrifice your safety or your identity. It will lift you up. It will not lock you in a cage. Thank you for walking with me through this story."